Hello everyone, how are you guys doing today? Thanks for watching this educational video. This is part 2 in a 4 or 5, I don't know how many parts I'm going to make this, but this is video 2 in my series on how to use computers for people that really don't have any idea how to use them. And today I want to go over the motherboard. I want to go over what the motherboard is, what it's for, why it is important, and in our previous video we talked about the components of a computer. That video is intended for real beginners just like this one that don't even know how to turn a computer on. If that describes you, or if someone placed you in front of the screen to watch this video, then great. Welcome to my channel. Why am I making one video dedicated to one component, and especially the motherboard? Because the motherboard is what everything plugs into, and everything you have on the outside of the computer also connects directly or indirectly here. Remember, if the device doesn't make its way to the motherboard, your computer will not see it. Last time I showed a PowerPoint presentation with many pictures and many notes. This video will be different. As you can see, I am playing Titanfall 2. Well, I am not playing right now, I am recording this, but I did record the gameplay and I'm only putting that on there so you guys won't get bored just looking at one picture or 5 pictures that I have for you guys. So I'll put those pictures up as I go along, but for now you can see this gameplay, and if you don't like it that much, well, I'm sorry. I'll load up more videos with other games. Just tell me in the comments. Let's get started. Okay, as I promised, this is the more detailed version of the rear connections since we covered the front ones in our last video. So if you want to know about the front of a computer, make sure you check out my other video. This one is for the back of the computer. Let's look at mine, which is a good illustration of what is commonly found in modern computers for beginners or casual people that will use a computer. Let's start at the top and move our way down. The very first connection you see is on top, which is the power supply. Some computers have this on the top part and on the bottom part, or at the bottom part. Basically, you connect the wall to your computer through here. That way you can get power to it. There's also a master switch that will cut off the power to the computer. And the reds have with voltage. Don't worry about those for now. Let's keep going. So moving downwards, you will see 2 circular connections, and you'll see the picture on the screen here. The green one is for your mouse, the purple one is for your keyboard. These are called PS2 ports. All you need to know about this is that even though computers still have these connections, a lot of times we don't use it anymore. Now we use USB Type A for a mouse and keyboard. Quick question, if you remember from my last video, what color is USB 2 and USB 3? From our last video, we know that USB 3 is blue and black is for USB 2, or white. Here they are black. Let's keep going. Immediately beneath these 2 circular connections are, that's right, you guessed it, more USB Type A 3.0 ports. And just by the sheer number of these ports, you know that they are very important. And we already covered that in the previous video because I thought that that would be very, very important to go over. And I didn't want to wait for the second video. I didn't want you guys to wait. You don't have to say Type A actually. You can, but you don't have to. Just saying plug it into the USB on the computer will suffice, and most people will know where to plug it in. You don't have to say Universal Serial Bus Type A Gen 3 port. People just know that it's USB. But if you want to impress your computer illiterate friends, feel free to do so. Immediately beneath that, you will see 2 connections that are peeking their way out. They may look a little bit similar, but on closer inspection, you will see that they are actually indeed different. Let's start with the larger one. The larger of these 2 connections is called DVID. There are many variances of this, and variations have different uses and different limitations. DVI stands for Digital Video Interface or Digital Visual Interface. Instead of the D at the end, we can have an A or an I, and different letters mean different things. all you really need to know here is that this connection is the which computer. All you need to know here is that which connection is on your computer. In this case, it is DVID D, and you should make sure that your monitor you are connecting to also has DVID. That's basically it. Just keep everything nice and neat and you'll be fine. If you have questions about this one connection, please ask in any comments in the comment section below, and I will gladly refer you to more in-depth material. For the meantime, just look at that picture I have on the screen and I'll see the different types of connections. The next connection is called VGA. VGA stands for Video Graphics Array. Usually it is painted blue, but here it is black. The connection is also used for a monitor. This is an old connection and usually is not used anymore. You can, and some of the lower cost monitors or screens do have this connection still, but usually we use another one. Personally, I don't use it. Honestly, this connection is painted black mainly for aesthetic reasons. At a certain level, some people care about how the computer looks rather than just its functionality, and that's why it's black in this case. I have to admit, black does look nicer than blue. Blue, in my opinion, looks like a connection for a much older computer. Painting it black, I think, makes the old connection look newer than what it really is. Let's keep going. Beneath these, you will see 3 connections. A pair of blue USB ports, which is Gen 3, and an HDMI connection. This one is actually going into the computer. There's another HDMI connection down below, and we'll get to that later. But this one is on the computer, this one's going, whereas the previous connections are kind of sticking out. This one's actually going in. HDMI stands for High Definition Multimedia Interface. This is the modern connection TVs use as well. This is the one I use as well. Why? 3 real reasons. 1, HDMI can transfer audio as well as video. VGA and DVI cannot. HDMI is smaller and sleeker. It does not require little screws on either side of the connection, so it saves room and it can actually push out better quality images than the other 2. This is why HDMI is better than VGA and DVI. If you have more questions, please don't be afraid to ask and I will gladly go into more detail. Beneath that, you will see 2 black USB ports. These are generation 2. Why do we have generation 2 if all the other ones are generation 3? Well, long story short, compatibility. If you are building a computer from scratch, you may need to use 2.0 at the beginning while you add the programs that will make your computer use 3.0. That's changing now. Now, out of the box, you can actually connect to 3.0. And if you buy a computer at the store, don't worry about this. You will be able to connect to it without a problem. It's all set, ready for you to go. But if you're building one, or if you, for some reason, you need to install everything all over again, sometimes you may need to use 2.0 before you can actually use 3.0. Again, if you want more details, please ask and I will refer you to more in-depth material. And just a side note, those programs that you may need to install to run or use 3.0, USB 3.0, is called a driver. It just drives the hardware. That's it. That's why it's called that. Next, that's all you need to know. Not too much. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail there. Okay, so let's keep going. Next to these 2 ports or connections, whatever you want to call them, you have one that looks like a phone line, but it's bigger. This is called an Ethernet port. Specifically, it is an RJ45 connection. RJ stands for registered jack. Basically, it's to connect to the internet and other computers. And it needs to be registered so that the computers on the internet know what who they're talking to, and they know where to send the information or data you requested. It's basically like an address, and it's a whole other section on internet addresses. Don't worry about that. We can talk about that for hours with IP addresses and other stuff that's going on, some protocols, and you don't need to worry about that. It's basically like a large restaurant where all the computers are in, and the table is the registered port. Basically, it's just so where other computers know where to send the data. Beneath these, you will see 3 circular connections. And basically these are all audio connections, green, pink, and blue. These are common 3.5 millimeter jacks, just like in the front of the computer that I showed you in the last video. It's the same type of connection that you have on your Walkman from the 80s and 90s. Pink is for a microphone. You want to record your voice, go ahead. Green is audio out to headphones or speakers, so you can hear it, and you can connect different things to it, different size speakers. Blue is audio in for recording from other audio devices, like an old tape recorder, as long as you have the right computer program. Am I telling you that I have 2 microphone and 2 headphone connections? Yes, I am. Why 2? Well, basically the front connections are luxury items. They're just a repetition of the ports on the back. They are easier to get to, and you don't have to deal with other cables and have to reach all the way back, which is useful if your computer is on the floor, kind of tucked away in the corner. The front connections are just easier to get to, that's it. But honestly, I just use my USB headset, which connects to the USB type A port, and it has a microphone and the headphones. It's so much easier for me. But I am sidetracking. Let's keep going. The last 3 connections are all bunched together. All 3 connections are on the graphics card. They are not actually on their motherboard. We'll get to that in a little bit. The 3 connections are HDMI, DVI, and DisplayPort. We already covered HDMI and DVI. If you want to know more specifically on this, it's a DL-DVI-D. DL stands for dual link. We don't have to get into detail on that. Let's just quickly go over the DisplayPort. What is this? Well, it is just another type of connection for your screen. This connection is newer and can carry video and audio signals together or separately. There is also a mini DisplayPort, so basically the same connection but smaller, also commonly referred to as Thunderbolt. If you want to know more about this, again, ask questions. I'll try to answer them the best I can. So why are these connections bunched together? Like I said before, they are not on the motherboard. They are actually on the graphics card, which connects to the motherboard. Does this slow down the connection because it has to go through that device to get to the motherboard? No, not at all. The graphics card is the hardware that pushes out the images to your screen. The graphics card is more powerful and capable than your motherboard's graphics or your chips, which is on the motherboard. Once you install a graphics card, you connect to it instead of the motherboard. This is why these connections are being used. And yes, if you look at the picture closely, you can see my graphics card is upside down. That's okay. The computer doesn't care. It doesn't matter. The only real reason to have this whole thing not on its side, the whole case not on its side, is to have the graded openings clear, to let airflow in. Basically, that's it. A computer needs to breathe just like you, so please don't cover these vents and using the computer when using the computer or any other electronic device. So if you see like another electronic device that has little vents and it gets kind of warm in there, don't block it. If you're gonna store it or you're gonna completely unplug it, yeah, go ahead and cover them. That way dust doesn't come in. But that's it. That's our video on computer connections. We talked about where to plug in a mouse and keyboard, monitors, speakers, microphone. A lot of things nowadays use USB type A to connect to the computer, so you can definitely be creative with what you connect. I'll mention some other things that are a little bit common. Portable batteries to charge your phone itself, USB fans. Yep, you can grab a little fan from eBay probably and just connect it to your computer, and you have a fan blowing in your face if you want that. External storage devices, which is basically just like a hard drive or an SSD, which we went over in our first video, and you can have that for portable storage. And then there's a lot of other things you can find online. People get really creative with that. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you on my next video. Bye.